He stood up at dinner, his voice slurred with arrogance and aged whiskey, and declared in front of his entire family that I was nothing but a manipulative social climber. He called me a street rat from the city, claiming I was using his son for money. I left that house with a silent rage burning behind my tears. What he didn't know was that I held the keys to his company's entire future, and its multi-million-dollar contract renewal was just a few weeks away. The next morning, I opened my laptop and saw his name. Stay until the end, and I'll tell you if my actions were a justified response or if I let my anger go too far. If you've ever been underestimated because of your background or judged by those who inherited their success, this story is for you. Hit the like button if you believe true respect is earned, not inherited. Subscribe to watch what happens when privilege collides with reality. My name is Maya Rivera. I'm 29, and I'm a senior strategic sourcing director for a global technology giant. I oversee vendor relationships and manage contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars annually. My decisions can make or break a company. I didn't get here through connections or nepotism. My parents, a nurse and a construction foreman, worked tirelessly to put food on our table in a small apartment in Queens. I paid for my education with scholarships and part-time jobs, studying late into the night. I worked my way up from an entry-level position, turning every single obstacle into a stepping stone. Every promotion, every raise, every success was mine alone, built from the ground up. This is why the condescending attitude of Arthur Sterling, my boyfriend Liam's father, was a constant, painful blow. Liam and I met 3 years ago at an industry conference. He's a brilliant data scientist, kind, and incredibly supportive. He saw my drive and respected my ambition. The problem was never Liam. It was his father, Arthur. Arthur inherited Sterling Logistics, a family-owned shipping and logistics firm. He never built it, he simply received it. And he used that inherited success as a shield to justify his judgment of anyone who had to work for what they had. From the first dinner at their sprawling estate, the subtle jabs began. So Maya works in procurement? So you're basically a glorified secretary for the tech industry? I'd correct him politely, explaining my role in managing multi-million-dollar contracts. He'd just offer a patronizing smile and change the subject. Over time, it grew more brazen. A woman like that, from her background, can't possibly understand our world. She's clearly looking for a way out. Liam always defended me, but his words seemed to bounce off his father's thick wall of condescension. I tried to tell myself that my success would eventually speak for itself. I tried to believe that if I just kept proving myself, Arthur would see my worth. I was wrong. The dinner was held on a crisp autumn evening. The table was set with fine china and silverware, and the air was thick with the scent of expensive wine. Liam's mom, Veronica, his sister Chloe, and her husband all sat around the table. The conversation was pleasant at first, but with his second glass of vintage port, Arthur's demeanor shifted. "Tell me, Maya," he said, his voice laced with disdain, "how much do you actually make? Enough to pay for that designer dress, or was that a gift?" The table went silent. "Arthur, that's enough," Veronica said, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Why not? I want to know if my son has to carry all the financial weight in this relationship," he retorted, his eyes narrowed on me. Liam slammed his fork on the table. "Dad, stop." But Arthur rose, swaying slightly as he held his glass. He pointed a finger at me. "This girl shows up out of nowhere, worming her way into our family. She doesn't belong here, and she never will. Girls like her are all the same, a dime a dozen in the city. They latch on to a boy with money, and they don't let go." His words hit me like a physical blow. The shame of it, the utter injustice, made my blood run cold. But I refused to let him see me break. I stood up slowly, carefully placing my napkin on the table. "Thank you for dinner, Mr. Sterling. It was illuminating." Liam grabbed my arm. "Maya, don't go, please." "I have to," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "We'll talk later." I walked out of that house, my head held high. But the second the car door closed, I shattered. Tears streamed down my face, not of sadness, but of pure, incandescent fury. The injustice of being judged by a man who had never worked a day in his life for anything he had was a bitter pill to swallow. When I got home, I did the only thing I could think of. I opened my work laptop and accessed my corporate supplier database. I typed in Sterling, and there it was, Sterling Logistics. Annual contract, $12.5 million. Products, global shipping and supply chain management. The renewal date was in 2 weeks. I hadn't known the connection before. Our company used their parent company's name. But now it was clear as day. I was staring at the man's name who had just publicly humiliated me, a man whose entire business was now in my hands. I sat there for hours wrestling with my conscience. Was this petty, unethical? But then I heard his voice again, a street rat from the city. My anger hardened into resolve. He had to learn a lesson. The next morning, I walked into my office with a plan. "Mark," I said to my senior analyst, "I need a full performance review on Sterling Logistics, a deep dive into their delivery metrics, customer satisfaction scores, and price comparison with their competitors. I need everything, and I need it by tomorrow morning." He looked at me, surprised. "They've been with us for years. Is there a problem?" "There is now," I said. "Markets change. We need to ensure we're getting the best value and service for our clients." The report that landed on my desk the next day was a goldmine. Their prices were 15% above market average. They had a history of consistent delivery delays and several significant customer complaints over the last 6 months. Professionally, I had every reason to terminate the contract. The final act of my plan was set into motion the day after. "We are officially terminating the Sterling Logistics contract," I announced at our team meeting. "We will be launching a competitive bidding process. This company is no longer competitive in its pricing or service." My assistant, Ethan, looked concerned. "But the contract has been so solid for so long." "And that's precisely why it's time to evaluate other options," I said, my voice firm. I didn't tell Liam what I had done. He was constantly apologizing for his father's behavior, and I just told him I needed time to process everything. A few days later, Liam called, his voice laced with panic. "Maya, my dad got a notice from your company. He says he's being terminated. He's completely losing it, says this could bankrupt him. He might have to lay off dozens of employees." The mention of innocent employees stopped me cold. This wasn't just about Arthur. It was about people who had nothing to do with his cruelty. "Have him send me a complete financial breakdown and his delivery reports for the last year," I said, the words surprising even me. "Why?" Liam asked, bewildered. "Just have him send it," I replied, my voice hard. I spent the entire weekend reviewing his company's records. By Sunday night, I knew what I had to do. Monday morning, Arthur arrived at my office. He was a different man. The arrogance was gone, replaced by desperation and fear. "Maya, he started. I held up my hand. "Mr. Sterling, your contract is terminated. That's final." His face went ashen. "However," I continued, "I'm willing to offer a new contract, but with conditions. First, a 15% price reduction to align with market rates. Second, a new quality assurance system. Third, an agreement to financial penalties for any future delivery delays." I paused, my eyes locking with his. "And fourth, a formal, written apology. Not just to me, but to my parents. I want you to acknowledge that you were wrong to judge me based on where I came from." Arthur's face turned red, his pride battling with his desperation. After a long, tense silence, he finally nodded. "Everything you asked for, I'll do it." "You have 24 hours, I said. 2 days later, a thick envelope arrived at my office. It contained a signed contract and a 2-page handwritten letter. It was an apology so genuine it was almost shocking. He acknowledged his prejudice and asked for my forgiveness. I showed the letter to Liam that night. He read it, tears welling in his eyes. "You did in a week what I couldn't do in years," he whispered. "You made him respect you." "I made him face the consequences," I corrected. "He needed to learn that the people he dismisses might hold more power than he realizes." The unexpected twist. 3 months later, Arthur's company had met every single metric in our new contract. His business was more efficient and profitable than ever. He began treating me with genuine respect. At a family dinner a few months later, Arthur stood up and cleared his throat. "I want to say something," he began, looking at me. "I spent my life believing success was an inheritance, but Maya has taught me that true success is built by hand. She came from nothing and achieved more than I ever did with every advantage given to me. My arrogance nearly destroyed my son's relationship with the best thing that ever happened to him." His voice cracked with emotion. "Maya, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but thank you for giving me a chance to be a better man." My heart softened completely. He wasn't just apologizing, he was transforming. He started asking for my professional advice, seeking my opinion on business decisions. 6 months later, Liam proposed. Arthur was the first to cry, hugging me tightly. "Welcome to the family, my daughter," he said, and I knew he meant it. Maya was absolutely justified. She could have easily destroyed Arthur's company based on his terrible performance, but she chose a better path. She taught him a lesson about consequence while simultaneously protecting innocent employees. She held him accountable, not just for his actions, but for his prejudice. This wasn't petty revenge. This was restorative justice. She forced him to confront his own flaws, to improve his business, and to become a better man. What she did wasn't just about winning. It was about elevating everyone around her. What's your take? Did Maya go too far, or did she use her power with wisdom? Share your opinion in the comments. And if you think she handled this perfectly, smash that like button and subscribe, because next day we have another story where underestimation meets devastating consequences. Justice, one story at a time.